Hi, and welcome to Just Ask Jen, a video series hosted by Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine. I'm designer Jen Gallacher, and today I wanted to answer the question of how do you put together a quick and easy mini album. And the way that I like to do that is to find an album like this one right here from American Crafts. And it is an American Crafts daybook. And I am going to show you how this fun and pre-made album can be quickly assembled to create a fun album about an event in your life. So let me go ahead and show you a little bit more about this album and how I approach designing mini album. So let me show you the inside of the mini album. Now these daybook albums from American Crafts are fun in that they have pre-cut, die-cut shapes and included elements such as pattern paper and vellum, little pockets and die-cut styles, scalloped edges, journaling pages. Just makes the process a lot more quick and easy. Another thing that makes designing an album like this quick and easy is to use coordinating products from the same company. So here's some of the coordinating products from this collection. These fun bow ties, these paper clips, or rather clothespins, tags, and they're fun in that they are embellished. These hula hoop flare ribbons might be fun. Some of these yo-yo paper clips, they're fabric and they have gems in the center. And then if you're looking to flesh out the album a little bit more, you can use the pattern paper from the same collection that coordinates. Stickers and additional items can be used as well. So let me start to show you how I start thinking about and planning for a mini album. The first thing that I will do is I will count the number of pages and I will measure the pages. So for instance, on this first page, I determine whether or not I want this to be a photography centered page or a journaling centered page. And then I will use my ruler to measure the size of the photo or the element that I need. And I do this for every single page in the layout. I plan out the layout ahead of time, and then I print out all my photos. I do print at home. You could crop photos if you don't do that. And I gather all my embellishments and try and pre-cut everything. So that way when I sit down to create the layout, everything is ready to go, and it just makes the assembly process so much quicker. So I'm going to gather all the supplies and then we'll come back and create this fun little mini album. So rather than start on the cover, sometimes I leave the cover till the end, and it depends on my mood, but I'll use my leftover supplies to decorate the cover. I'm going to go ahead and decorate this inside cover first. And because it's the first part of my album, I wanted to make sure that I started with kind of some introductory journaling. And I'll be doing some handwriting journaling, but this is printed on some craft cardstock. And then some embellishments and tools that you can bring in are things like shaped punches, border punches, scissors, twine, things like that. I'm going to use this little border strip, and at the bottom of each of the American Crafts pattern paper, on the back side of the informational strip is a fun pattern paper, and I just punched with a border punch this fun little edge just to dress it up a little bit. And then what I'll try to do throughout the album is use similar colors or similar tools so that it looks very cohesive. So I pre-planned the pages out first, as I indicated before, just to make sure that it looks cohesive. Then I'm going to take this sheet of it was a little pattern paper from kind of like a border paper, but it was more just a paper that you can just cut out into little journaling blocks. And I liked the little floral print. A 6x6 paper pad is great for a mini album as well, because a lot of manufacturers will scale down their patterns, which makes them a little bit more appropriate size-wise for a collection like this or an album like this. This is just some white crochet twine. I always try to add a little bit of texture, whether it's ribbon or lace or twine. You can also use baker's twine. I'm just using white. We'll go ahead and tie this into a ribbon. And at this point you can determine how much detail each page will have. If you want something simple, just slap your photos down, add a little bit of journaling, a stick or two, and you're done. If you like something that's a little bit more detailed, this is where all the options are up to you. So I'm just using a dot runner adhesive. You can also use glue dots to adhere some of the more heavy items to the layout. And then, as I said before, I've pre-printed the photos here at home. We'll just mount this right over the top of that fun border. And then before I adhere this top part down, I'm going to use one of those fun little yo-yo paper clips. And I'm using yellow, and the reason why I chose yellow is because it was sunny, and this entire album is about my trip to Hawaii. So I didn't add very much to this page, but it very easily decorated it. On this second page, I am using a photo that, again, I printed at home, and I left the white edge around it. And I'm going to just adhere that right on the page. And then for something a little different, you can bring in fun things like sequins or just little generic tools and supplies that you have on hand. I use glue dots to adhere my little sequins to the page. Confetti would be fun too. One thing that I thought about doing after we got back from Hawaii, I thought it would have been fun to actually bring back some sand from our trip and create a baggie with the sand, just to remember how beautiful the beaches were there. So that would be fun. So that page came together super, super quick. Let's move on to this fun love page. And this is a combination journaling page. And what I do when I print at home is I figure out the sizes that I'm going to need, and then I use my paper trimmer to just cut them out. If you are not printing papers, or rather photos at home, then all you would need to do is measure and crop your photos accordingly. And it's not that much harder to do. If you like the look of the white photo paper around your photos, simply mount it on some white cardstock. And that matting will make it look really, really great. So I'm actually going to cover up my journaling, and that's okay. And this is where you can make it your own. Then I recommend you have a good journaling pen around, and then you can fill in the blanks as you like. And then I'm going to use some of these hula hoop flare ribbons. Cover up the toes, and then we'll bring in some more of these sequins. I'm trying to match the silver that I already have. So you can add as much journaling or as little journaling as you want, depending on the photo or the activity that you were doing, or the mood you're in when you're actually documenting the event. Now on this particular page, I tried to think of how I could incorporate different items on here, but I really love that glittered heart. And if I use a photo, it's going to cover it up. So what I decided to do is this is going to become a journaling page. And if you want your journaling to be straight, you can add some pencil lines and then fill in with a pen. I'm simply going to journal with my pen. I'll write that page and I'll come back and show you what it looks like when I'm done. So you can see that I journaled right around the center of the heart, and again I just used a nice journaling pen. You could use a colored journaling pen. And to decorate the heart a little bit, I just have a white button tied with twine, and I'm going to place that onto the glitter heart. On this second page, because I have a little bit of bulk here, one thing you can do is you can fold the album over, and you can easily place things on at this point. So kind of plan for where your bulk is going to be. I want to add a little bit of stamping. So I have a fun Amy Tangerine stamp, and it has several different words as well as your typical dates. And to stamp, I'm going to use my go-to stamp color, which is Tuxedo Black from Memento. I'm just going to stamp this right at the top. Make sure you have it right side up. I'm just going to stamp it. So a date stamp is something fun to have on hand for projects like this. It just makes it fun, and especially where they have words that you can add to these projects. I always enjoy adding little things like that. Now this page looks a little plain to me, so I'm going to add some photo corners to it. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. That's the fun thing about this project. So I have some older Heidi Swapp ones that I'm going to use. They're cream, and you do have to lick them to stick them down. Sometimes they come self-adhesive, these do not. And I'm just going to put them at opposite corners just to decorate it up a little bit. So I already love this page as is, and I don't really want to do a lot with it. I'm going to go ahead and just add a few sequins to the project, because I think on pages like this there's plenty going on, and because it is see-through I don't want to add too many layers and distract from it. If you do add something to a transparent page, you need to think about what shows on the outside, or rather the other side of the paper. So when you turn it over, you're going to see whatever you put on the other side. So we're just going to leave that one plain, and we're going to keep that one simple. So for this confetti page, I'm going to do a combination photo and journaling. So I'll just start with a simple photo, and then I'm going to add some journaling with the journaling pen that I've been using. I'll show you what that looks like. So there you can see I've just added some additional journaling to the page, and I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bow for fun. So on this next page, I didn't want to do journaling, which I felt like the page kind of indicated you should do. So this is what you can do when you have a pattern that maybe you don't want to work with, and that is to simply cut from the matching pattern paper a new piece. And you just need to leave enough room, if you have a binding like this, that it doesn't cover the binding. So I'll go ahead and add this to the center, and now I can do whatever I want with this layout. So don't feel like you're restricted by what the page looks like. From the little block that I've been using to cut out different pattern papers, I like this little yellow pattern paper, and I wanted a tag in yellow, and I didn't have one. And so I'm simply creating one, and I cut one corner off, flip the little corner piece over to the other side, and then you can punch a hole in it or decorate it however you want. I'm just going to leave it as is, and then I'll mount the photos right on top. So you can create your own embellishments simply by using the matching pattern paper from the collection. Add another one of these fun little paper clips to the top of the tag. So you don't need a lot going on a layout. You can just leave it pretty simple. You can add additional journaling. I'm going to add another one of those little date stamps. How these work is you pick the date, and then you simply turn the knob to pick a new saying, and this one is going to say here and there. And then using the stamping ink, you simply stamp on the layout. And I'm going to remove this just for a second so I can get a nice clean stamp on it. And then I can put this bow right back where it was. So just a little bit of a date journaling. On this second piece, I wanted to incorporate a tag. I like the little tags that I showed you at the beginning, and I'm going to attach that with a clothespin. And these kind of bulkier embellishments look great hanging off the top or the side of the album. So I'll add a little bit of pieces so it stays in place. And then I want the tag to hang off a little bit off the top. And then I'll make sure these are double-sided. And I'll just clip it to the page so you can see when it's closed that it sticks off, and that is kind of a fun element to have. And then because it took up so much of the page, I'm simply going to place my photo underneath. And I've cut my photos in a variety of sizes. Some of them are squares, some are rectangles, a lot of different ways you can do this. Again, let's add a few of those sequins just to dress it up a little bit. I'm using silver and white. Sequins are being made by several different manufacturers. You can also use glue dots, or rather enamel dots if you prefer that look. Or you can use buttons, pearls, whatever you have on hand. for items on the collection that can be cut out, such as this little tab that says you can never have too much happy. And what I'll do is I will fussy cut around the image. You could also cut it out with a paper trimmer if you prefer. And I'm just going to use the top of the tab. I don't have the matching stickers, so I am simply getting creative with the paper. If you have the stickers, you can also add different embellishments. And again, I don't need to waste all of this, so I'm just going to cut it off and throw the rest away. And then I've created my own little tab, and that just helps the page look a little bit more special. Now, the pocket page presents a fun opportunity to include ephemera from your trip. And ephemera can be ticket stubs from the valet. It could be, like I said, sand before, where I mentioned you could do sand before, but you'd want to make sure that you adhere this well. I'm going to put a little bit of sequins inside the pocket. And I'm going to add a few pink ones just to make it a little more bold. You can also use a punch to do this. If you have a punch that cuts circles, a lot of circles, a border punch, like a confetti border punch, this would work as well. You want to try and get those to slide down just a little bit, and it looks like it needs a little bit more adhesive. And then something fun that you can put in there is a photo, and to do that you're going to need a small photo, and you don't want to cover up the entire envelope, so I'll tend to do one that it's about 3/4 or 2/3 the size of the envelope. So I have this little photo, and I'm going to go ahead and slip it inside. Again, I tried to pick one, and you can barely see it, and that's okay. It adds a little bit of whimsy and fun to it. And I'm going to add just a little bit of adhesive just to hold it in place. Then to decorate the album a little bit more on this particular page, I have some more of that pattern paper that matches this fun collection. And we're going to be careful as we place these things that we're not covering up the photo. And as I look at it, I think I want the photo on the top. So you can change your mind. We'll just keep the sequins in the pocket, and we'll put the photo on the outside. And then this is a fun opportunity to bring in, again, some more generic type supplies. You can bring in washi tape. This is always a fun element to add to a project. And then we'll add one more of these fun little flare award things to the layout. And then I'll add a little bit of journaling. So you can see I just added a little bit of journaling to this layout. Now when you have fun little elements like this cute "You Are My Fave," it doesn't require much, and all I'm going to do is trim down this photo a little bit and adhere it on the back. You could also add a sticker or a journaling prompt there. You can do whatever you want just to dress up that small square. You could even leave it as is. It's just a fun little element, but I wanted an unexpected photo to appear on the back. Now for this flower, I'm going to add some glue, or rather sequins, to the center of each flower, just to give it a little bit of pizzazz. A couple of silver sequins as well. So look for ways that you can dress up already existing elements. And then on the back, we'll just leave it plain. You can see it's a double-sided element. Now for this blue scalloped, I wanted to do a photo, and so again, I measure and I make sure that my elements are going to fit, and then I will add them to my album. And I'm trying to use up as many of these fun supplies that came with this collection so that I'm getting the most bang for my buck. And then on the back, you can again add an additional photo or do some additional journaling. So I have another photo, and I try and mix up both the portrait kind of photography and the more nature photography when I go on a trip. I want to make sure that I am including visual items as well as some other kinds of things that you would see on your trip. So make sure that you include both kinds in your album. So just decorating it. Again, you see that I repeat a lot of things. This just saves so much time when you're designing if you just use the same elements over and over and over again. You just keep them on your desk and you just work through a mini album like this really quickly. Then on this journaling page, this particular page has a little kitten in the corner. And that doesn't really go with what I want to say. So I picked and printed a larger photo that will cover the majority of that little cat. And I will just cover that up with the photo. And then you can add additional embellishments that will further cover it so that you don't have to look at it. So just because an item's there on the album doesn't mean you have to incorporate it. Look for creative ways to use it or cover it. I do want to include some journaling on the back here. So again, I am going to do that, and then I'll come back and add the photo to the layout. So you can see I've just added some cursive handwriting at the top. I'm going to add the photo at the bottom. And then to dress it up a little bit, I'm taking some of that pattern paper and again just making a pennant shape. A little bit goes a long way, so even if you buy just a couple of sheets of the matching pattern paper, it can really dress up a project. So just make sure that you don't cover your journaling when you're adding additional embellishments. This last page that is all decorated and fun, you can just add additional journaling to, or you could do a photo in a circle. I'm going to add some journaling. So you can see I've added a little bit of journaling, and then we'll add one more of these fun little clips. And I'm going to add a bow to it as well. To dress it up a little bit. And then at the back page it says the end, but I didn't want it to be the end, so I am going to add a photo on top of it. That is our last photo that we took when we were on our trip in Hawaii. And then I'll add just a little bit of sparkle to the project. Add some shimmer with these fun tags. You could tie it off with some additional twine. And then for the last page, I wanted just a summary page. So I'm going to do like I did with the first page, and I'm going to incorporate some typed journaling. And that keeps the layout cohesive. I typed in the front and I'm going to type here in the back. So I like to make sure that I try and mix and match things equally. So for the cover, I'm going to use some of my leftover pieces and again do some of the same techniques that I have been doing. This just makes the design process go a lot more quickly. I'm not coming up with an entirely new technique each time. I want to make sure this lays a little bit more flat. And you can use either side of this double-sided pattern paper depending on which side you prefer. I wanted the blue and pink to show. And I'm not worrying about overlapping those glittered flowers. That's just fine. And then for something fun, I'm going to add this little yellow book plate. And it's that same sunny yellow as I've used with the pattern paper from American Crafts. And this is where I will place my title. This particular set is called Kenzie. It's from American Crafts. And it's a nice coral pink, which matches the rest of this collection beautifully. And so I will go ahead and place the title letters into the book plate. And because they're getting a little bit lost, you could do some vellum there if you prefer. You can do whatever you want. And you can use a little bit stronger adhesive to help with it, to help it stick a little bit. First, I usually place things down, and then I come back and add a little bit more adhesive to it. A wet adhesive would work well. So I'm going to go ahead and add the letter stickers and then show you what it looks like once it's all down on the layout. So here you have the finished album. Now, just by using the same collection and an album that is pretty much ready to go, I can quickly easily assemble one of these albums. It takes me about 4 hours to do an album like this, and I just showed you the quick way to do it, but from start to finish, about 4 hours is what it typically takes me to create an album. Thank you for joining me for today's Just Ask Jen video. Be sure to subscribe to the Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of their instructional tutorials.